Hey there, this is Wojciech from PhaseLLM, and today I'll be walking you through our NewsBot demo. And this is a demo project within PhaseLLM where we specifically allow you to create news summaries about topics that you care about. In my case, one of the topics I care about is OpenAI. And every morning I get an email similar to this one where I have a very brief paragraph outlining some of the latest developments related to OpenAI or some of its associated work. What's really cool about this summary is it talks about the topics themselves in a very quick paragraph. It also provides footnotes with links to the original sources. All of this is written by, in this case, GPT-4 or ChatGPT. And the question that I'm going to address today is how do we actually build this with PhaseLLM, but also how did we use human evaluation and a process of really understanding the various prompts and to pick the ideal prompt and the ideal set of prompts for this NewsBot. So all of this code is open source within our repository, and I'll be going through it very briefly. NewsBot itself is this code here, which again you can see in our repository. This is what actually gets the articles and summarizes them. But the real magic happens when we ask the large language model to generate the summary and provide the footnotes. So how did we actually come up with the ideal prompt for that? If you go to newsbot_create, this is what creates the data set that we're actually ultimately interested in. Specifically, suppose that we have two different models. In this case, maybe one is the Claude model, which is from Anthropic. Another one could be the OpenAI one. And in this case, we'll actually have two separate models and two separate prompts. So here's the very first prompt. You are a helpful news summarizer. It talks a little bit about how to actually include footnotes, and then that the footnotes themselves should be ordered starting at 1, going through 2, 3, etc. The second prompt goes into a little more detail. It specifically says that the large language model can reorder reference articles, make changes that make the paragraph informative, pithy, concise. You can have multiple footnotes per sentence, and feel free to do so. Feel free to add your own commentary if you think it'll actually add to the user's experience. So you could see the second prompt here actually allows us to get a little more creative, or allows the large language model to add its own editorial context ideas into the summaries themselves. And so in this case, for this experiment, we're going to do this across 10 different queries: SpaceX, Federal Reserve, Shopify, and a few others. The first large language model is OpenAI's GPT-4. In this case, we've actually set it to the second one as well, specifically because we want to see the differences between these two prompts. And the newsbot_create will actually create the data set for us that includes all the articles for these 10 queries, has the summaries for each of these large language models and prompts, and then allows us to run an evaluation script, which I'll talk about in a minute. Now, running this code takes a bit of time, so I won't do so right now, but I do have the outputs here in a web browser. So what you actually get as a result is for each of your queries, you get this file. You have the articles themselves, the large language model 1, its view into things, large language model 2, its actual summary as well. And so we have this for all 10 queries in this case. So now the second part of the process is evaluation. And what's really, really wonderful about PhaseLLM is that we've actually simplified the evaluation process to just a few lines of code. In this case, we log and load the data that you just saw in the browser, and then we start this thing that we call the evaluation stream. And the idea behind the evaluation stream is that we will show a human both prompts, we'll randomize the order so they won't know which prompt is associated with which model, and they'll be able to review the results 10 times in this case because we've got 10 queries, and then we'll report back the results so that they could see which of these two models they prefer. So I'm going to actually run this just to show you what this looks like. So this is newsbot_evaluate. I'm going to click run. And this is what you ultimately get. You get the objective, you get a sample prompt, and then you've got these two responses. So EchoStar Corporation, it's Q1 2023 results. And then the second response. Now you'll notice in the second response, we actually don't have footnotes. Depending on how important that is to me, I might actually prefer A over B because of the footnotes themselves, or I might look into the results themselves. So in this case, I prefer A because I definitely want footnotes. Now, here's the second example. Response A, Americans are bracing for higher inflation in the long term. I won't read it all to you. In the second one, a California regulator admitted to underestimating the risks associated with SVB's rapid growth. You know what? In this case, I prefer A as well. I'll go through the next 8 results quickly. I'll speed up the video so that you don't have to watch me do all of this, but bear with me here for a few seconds. Okay, so now what you see at the very end here, once we've actually completed the 10 queries, is this metric here, 3 versus 7. So what this is actually saying is that the second set of settings that we had here, which in this case, going back to the creation thing, the creation script, excuse me, LLM2, so OpenAI's GPT-4, and the second prompt. So this one where we actually give GPT-4, in this case, creative license, was the one that had 7 choices versus 3 in the other case. Now, what's really interesting, of course, is that it wasn't universal, right? In some cases, I preferred one versus the other, and this is why this sort of evaluation is so powerful. And of course, you don't have to do this once. You can keep iterating on the prompts, try different models, try different sets of instructions, and so on. And what will ultimately happen is you will get the best possible news bot and the best possible summaries for yourself. Thanks so much for listening.